Welcome back to VideoDB Daily. Today we're going deep on a pretty big deal for AI. It's called the Model Context Protocol, or MCP for short. You know how AI tools always used to feel so like siloed and limited?
Yeah.
Well, MCP is changing that. It's kind of like creating a smoother, more unified experience for AI. A little like how good UX design makes software more enjoyable for us, people.
Yeah, for sure. It's a really exciting development. MCP is essentially laying the groundwork for these AI agents to be able to interact with the world in a way more dynamic and powerful way.
Okay, now when we say AI agents, what exactly are we even talking about? It sounds like something out of a sci-fi movie.
Well, it might sound futuristic, but it's becoming a reality. AI agents are essentially AI systems that can not only answer your questions, but also they can take action based on that information they process. They can retrieve data, analyze it, even make decisions, all with a level of autonomy that we really haven't seen before.
Okay, so instead of just passively responding to our questions, these AI agents can actually go out and do things on their own.
Exactly. Think of it this way. Imagine you're asking a traditional chatbot, like ChatGPT, for some help with a coding problem, right? You might have to copy and paste code snippets, search for documentation, and feed all that information to the chatbot, bit by bit.
Piecemeal.
Yeah, piecemeal. But an AI agent powered by MCP could potentially just do all that itself.
Wow, so it's kind of like giving the AI a set of tools and then the ability to use them independently.
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. It's like handing the AI a toolbox and saying, okay, figure out how to use these tools to solve this problem. And that's where this concept of tool calling comes in.
Tool calling.
Yeah. So AI agents, especially the ones powered by those large language models like Claude or GPT-4, they can now dynamically discover, what tools are even available to them and then how to use them.
So instead of just being limited to a pre-programmed set of commands, they can actually figure out what they need on the fly.
Exactly. That's the key to greater AI autonomy. It's like the difference between teaching someone a very specific recipe versus teaching them how to cook. With MCP, AI agents are learning how to adapt and problem solve in a much more general way.
Okay, so MCP is basically like the bridge between AI agents and all the tools and data they need to actually interact with the world.
Precisely. And it achieves this through a very specific kind of architecture. At its core, MCP has three main components: hosts, servers, and clients.
Okay, let's break that down a little bit. What are these hosts, servers, and clients, and how do they actually work together?
All right, so think of the host as the brain of the whole operation. It's where the AI agent lives, processing information, making those decisions. A good example is something like Claude Desktop, which provides a platform for interacting with these AI agents.
So the host is like the AI's home base.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good way to put it. Now, servers are where the tools actually reside. Each server is a specific capability or data source. So it could be a server for accessing Google Drive, another for querying a database, and so on.
So it's like having a collection of specialized toolboxes, each with a specific set of tools for different tasks.
Exactly. Each server is a specialized toolbox. Now, the clients are the connectors that kind of bridge the gap between the hosts and the servers. They allow the AI agent to actually access and utilize those tools within the toolboxes.
Okay, so it's a three-part system. You got the host where the AI lives, the servers where all the tools are stored, and then the clients to connect it to.
Yeah, that's a great summary. And the really neat part of the system is that it allows for this dynamic interaction. The AI doesn't have to know beforehand what tools are even out there. It can just discover them through MCP and figure out how to use them as it needs them.
This is fascinating. Can you give us a concrete example of how this all actually works in practice? Say in, I don't know, maybe a coding scenario.
Absolutely. So imagine you're working on this complex coding project and you run into a problem.
A snag.
Yeah, snag. Now, instead of painstakingly researching the error, copying and pasting code into a chat window, you could just ask your AI coding assistant, powered by MCP, to just fix this error.
Okay. And how would the AI assistant even go about doing that? It can't just magically know how to fix every single error.
That's where MCP comes in. The AI agent starts by querying the available MCP servers. It's essentially asking, hey, what tools are available to me right now?
So it's like a craftsman surveying their tools before starting a project.
Precisely. And let's say one of the servers is connected to your code repository, another to a debugging tool, and then another to a massive knowledge base of code documentation. The AI agent then uses its language processing abilities to analyze that error message and figure out which tools are most likely to help solve the issue.
So it's like a detective gathering clues and evidence.
Exactly. The AI agent might first call on that code repository server to fetch those relevant files, then run those files through the debugging tool server. To get a more detailed understanding of what that error even is, it might even consult that documentation server to see if there are any known solutions or best practices for that specific type of error.
So it's leveraging all these different resources to come up with the solution, and I don't even have to manually guide it through each step. That's amazing.
And that's the power of MCP. It lets these AI agents become much more proactive and independent problem solvers. It's like having a highly skilled assistant who can anticipate your needs and then just take the initiative.
Now, while this is all incredibly fascinating, I'm kind of wondering how this all ties back to what we do here at VideoDB. How does MCP apply to the world of video processing?
That's a great question. It leads us to a fascinating application of MCP known as video MCP. Video, as you know, is a really complex form of data. It's not just about the visuals, it's about the audio, the text, and how all those elements come together.
Right. And trying to analyze video sometimes feels like trying to solve a multidimensional puzzle. There's just so much information packed into every single frame.
Exactly. And for AI to really understand video, it needs that structured access to all those different layers of information. That's where video MCP steps in. It allows AI to interact with that video content through a much richer set of structured data, such as transcripts, scene detection information, object recognition data, and even timestamps for when certain keywords are spoken.
So instead of just seeing a stream of pixels, AI can now break down a video into its component parts and actually make sense of it on a deeper level.
Precisely. Imagine having this massive database of video recordings, maybe from meetings, lectures, or any other video content. Traditionally, if you wanted AI to find something specific in those videos, you would have had to rely on basic metadata, like titles or tags.
Or even worse, you'd have to manually watch through hours of footage to find what you're looking for.
Exactly. But Video MCP changes all of that. With Video MCP, an AI agent could just quickly scan through the transcripts of all those videos, pinpoint those relevant segments, and even generate a summary of those key points that were discussed.
That sounds like a huge time saver. Are there any other practical applications of Video MCP that you can share?
Oh, absolutely. With Video MCP, you could have AI agents automatically editing videos, creating highlight reels, generating captions and subtitles, even identifying those key moments based on emotional cues or changes in the speaker's tone.
So Video MCP is opening up this whole new world of possibilities for how we can interact with and utilize video content.
Absolutely.
This is truly groundbreaking stuff. We've covered a lot of ground so far, from the basics of MCP to how it's applied to, coding and video processing.
Yeah.
But I'm really eager to hear more about how this technology is being used in other fields and what the future holds for MCP in general.
There's definitely a lot more to unpack, and we're going to dive even deeper into those topics in the next part of our deep dive. One of the things about MCP that I find really interesting is how it's changing the way we think about AI documentation.
Oh, documentation. Not exactly the most exciting topic, is it? How is MCP shaking things up there?
Well, traditionally, API documentation was written mostly for human developers, but now with MCP, we have these AI agents that need to understand and use this information too.
So it's almost like we have to teach AI how to read our instruction manuals.
Exactly. And it turns out AI is not that great at parsing through lengthy, unstructured documentation. Even those super advanced language models can struggle with making sense of it all.
Yeah, I can see how that would be a challenge.
Yeah.
So how are we addressing this?
Well, a new kind of convention has emerged called LLMs.txt.
LMs.txt.
Yeah, it's a file very similar to robots.txt that provides AI agents with a, concise and structured overview of an MCP server's capabilities.
So it's like a Cliff's Notes version of the documentation, specifically designed for AI.
Yeah, that's a great analogy. And the format is standardized. So it's really easy for those AI agents to quickly parse and understand the information. It really enhances the ability of AI agents to learn and then effectively use those servers.
Now, speaking of learning and understanding, I know that context plays a crucial role in MCP. Can you kind of elaborate on how MCP actually provides AI with the context it needs to actually do these tasks?
Yeah, context is absolutely key when it comes to AI. And one of the most remarkable advancements we've seen alongside MCP has been the development of these large language models with these massive context windows.
Can you remind us what context windows are and why they're so important?
So think of a context window as the amount of information an AI can actually hold in its working memory at any given time. The larger the context window, the more information the AI can process and analyze at the same time.
So it's like expanding the AI's ability to see the bigger picture.
Exactly. We're talking about models that can handle like tens of thousands, even hundreds of thousands of tokens in their context windows now.
Wow, that's a mind-boggling amount of information.
Yeah.
To put things into perspective, can you explain what a token actually represents in this context?
Yeah, so in the world of language models, a token represents like a fundamental unit of text. It could be a word, a punctuation mark, or even just a single character. The key thing is that models with these larger context windows, they can just process much longer sequences of text, which is super important for understanding complex concepts and relationships.
So how does this relate back to MCP and its ability to actually provide context to those AI agents?
So remember how we talked about MCP servers providing access to things like code repositories, databases, documentation? Well, with these larger context windows, AI agents can now ingest much larger chunks of that information all at once.
So instead of retrieving data piecemeal, they can now see the whole picture, like reading an entire chapter instead of just a paragraph at a time.
That's a perfect way to put it. This enhanced ability to handle these larger contexts, it has huge implications for MCP. It allows those AI agents to reason more accurately and efficiently, making them much more powerful and versatile.
This makes me think about all the different AI coding tools that are available today. Are these tools already utilizing MCP?
Well, not all of them explicitly use MCP yet, but many are embracing these same principles of providing AI with that richer context. Like, take Claude, for example. While Claude isn't an IDE itself, it's an AI assistant that's frequently used in those coding scenarios, and it's renowned for having an exceptionally large context window.
Yeah, I've heard it can handle a ridiculous amount of text, almost like processing an entire novel in one go.
Yeah, that's right. Claude can actually handle up to 100,000 tokens, which is just an incredible amount of information. It means that it can ingest like entire code bases or extensive documentation without any issues.
So when Claude is connected to an MCP server, it can really leverage that massive context to its full potential, right?
Absolutely. So let's say an MCP server provides access to, a dozen different files that are relevant to a coding problem. Claude can just load all of them into its context window and analyze them at the same time, providing those much deeper insights than a model with a smaller context window ever could. Now, another interesting example is Cursor. Cursor is an AI-enabled IDE specifically designed for coding, and while it may not use MCP directly, it's built on that same principle of providing AI with as much relevant context as possible.
And how does Cursor actually achieve this?
Well, Cursor has some pretty clever features that enhance context awareness. For example, it can automatically include the contents of any open files in your editor right into the AI's context window.
So it's like the AI is looking over your shoulder as you code, gaining this real-time understanding of your project.
Exactly. And Cursor takes it a step further with this feature called .cursor rules. This file lets you set guidelines or rules for the AI to follow, making sure its suggestions align with your project's style and conventions.
That's a fantastic feature. It's like setting up guardrails to keep the AI on track and prevent it from going off on those random tangents.
Precisely. This ability to maintain that persistent context, where the AI retains that knowledge about your project, really improves the quality of its assistance. Now, some versions of Cursor can actually utilize Claude as that back-end AI. So what happens when you combine a tool like Cursor that's designed for coding with a large language model like Claude that has this massive context window?
Well, it sounds like you'd have a super-powered coding assistant.
You're absolutely right. You get the best of both worlds. Cursor's ability to curate and structure that code-specific context from your project. It combines seamlessly with Claude's remarkable capacity to analyze and reason about those vast amounts of information. It's like having a coding partner who can not only understand your code, but also offer those insights and suggestions that you might have never even considered on your own.
Now, we've focused quite a bit on coding examples, but I'm curious to hear about how MCP is being used in other fields. Can you share some examples of MCP's impact beyond, the world of coding?
Absolutely. We're seeing MCP being adopted across a whole range of domains, and the applications are super exciting, like in enterprise settings, for example. Imagine an AI agent that's connected to a company's CRM system, email server, and their internal knowledge base. This agent could automate those complex workflows, like routing customer support tickets to the right department, extracting key information from emails, and even drafting responses based on that information that it retrieves from the knowledge base.
That sounds like a dream come true for anyone who's ever been bogged down by those repetitive administrative tasks.
Exactly. Those AI agents can handle those tedious, time-consuming things. And that frees up human employees to focus on the more strategic and creative endeavors.
You mentioned scientific research earlier. How is MCP transforming that field?
Well, scientific research relies heavily on data analysis and extracting those meaningful insights. MCP really empowers AI agents to excel in this area. Imagine an AI agent connected to databases of scientific papers, experimental results, and other research data. It could help scientists identify relevant research, analyze trends, and even generate new hypotheses, basically accelerating the pace of scientific discovery.
It's amazing to think that AI, with the help of MCP, could play such a big role in pushing the boundaries of scientific knowledge.
Yeah, and we're also seeing some promising applications emerge in healthcare and legal fields. Imagine AI agents assisting doctors with diagnoses by analyzing patient records and medical literature, or helping lawyers prepare for cases by sifting through tons of legal documents.
It's inspiring to envision a future where AI, powered by MCP, just becomes an essential tool in all these different professions, helping us to solve these complex problems and make better decisions.
Yeah, MCP is undoubtedly a game changer. It's democratizing access to AI and opening up a whole world of possibilities. But like with any transformative technology, it's super important to consider both the opportunities and the challenges that it brings.
That's a good point. MCP is still a fairly new technology, and while it has immense promise, there are likely to be some hurdles to overcome. What are some of the challenges or limitations we should be aware of as MCP keeps evolving?
Well, I think one of the biggest challenges is security. When you have AI agents interacting with all this sensitive data across all these different external systems, making sure you have really strong security measures is absolutely essential. Developers really need to be on top of implementing access controls and protecting those AI agents themselves from any potential vulnerabilities. There's a ton of work going on in this area, but it's a crucial consideration as MCP becomes more widely adopted.
Security is definitely paramount, especially when you're dealing with sensitive information. Are there any other challenges that we should be thinking about?
Another challenge lies in, the complexity of the MCP protocol itself. It's a sophisticated system that requires a certain level of technical expertise to really understand and use it properly.
So there's definitely a learning curve involved for developers who want to build those MCP servers and integrate them into their applications.
That's right. However, the good news is that there are resources out there to help those developers get up to speed. As that MCP ecosystem matures, we can expect to see more user-friendly tools and libraries, which will help simplify that development process.
So while there are challenges, the future of MCP looks bright, and those potential benefits definitely outweigh the hurdles.
Absolutely. MCP really represents a paradigm shift in how we approach AI development and deployment. Its ability to connect AI agents with these diverse tools and data sources, it really paves the way for a future where AI becomes an integral part of our daily lives, helping us solve those real-world problems in ways we never thought possible.
For those listening who are really eager to learn more about MCP, maybe even start experimenting with it themselves, are there resources available to help them do that?
Oh, absolutely. The great thing about MCP is that it's an open standard, which means that anyone can build tools for it. And there's this whole growing community of developers creating MCP servers and clients. It's fostering this really collaborative and innovative environment.
So it's not just limited to a small group of tech giants.
Yeah.
Anyone with the interest and the skills can get involved and actually contribute to, making MCP even better.
Yeah, that's exactly what makes it so exciting. There are tons of resources available online for people who want to dive in. If you're a developer, you can find guides and tutorials to help you get started with building your own MCP servers. And if you're just curious to learn more, there are so many articles, blog posts, and forums where all these concepts are explained in way more detail.
Well, it sounds like there's a whole world of information out there for anyone who wants to learn more and even get involved in shaping the future of MCP. As we wrap up this deep dive into the Model Context Protocol, I want to thank you so much for joining us today on VideoDB Daily and for sharing your expertise with us on this, truly groundbreaking technology.
It's been my pleasure. It's always so exciting to talk about these kinds of advancements and to see that, enthusiasm and curiosity from our listeners.
And to our listeners, we encourage you to keep exploring, keep learning, and stay tuned to VideoDB Daily for more in-depth discussions on AI, video technology, and all those exciting developments that are shaping our digital world.
Until next time, keep pushing the boundaries of what's possible with AI.